welcome to this edition of Atlanta Live. I'm Ann White, and we're here with a very special guest today that has a very courageous story to talk about. She is an author, speaker, comedian, singer. She does it all. Please join me in welcoming Chonda Pierce. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you very much. I'm so honored, but when you list it like that, it's like I can't hold down a job.
Well, you know what? I could list, the list could go on.
I'm very blessed that you know, I'm blessed to get paid for any one of those things.
Well, you have had a long career.
Yes.
But laughter became, let's talk about how laughter and comedy got your start. How you got your start early on?
You know, it was, you know, I look at those days, you know, when the Bible says laughter doeth good like medicine. It was medicine for me first before I could ever dish it out to anybody else. When I was a young college student, I got a job at a theme park in Nashville called Opryland.
Right.
And because I'd grown up in a very holiness denomination, I was not allowed to dance or you'd go to hell in a handbasket.
Yep.
And so the only show that I could really function in was a show that gave the history of country music. And they gave me the part of Minnie Pearl. And I wound up impersonating Minnie Pearl for 6 years.
You did.
Met some wonderful lifelong friends that have been so good, you know, down through the years. And those 6 years, I really honed a craft that became a great medicine for me. It was a time when my parents had recently divorced. I had lost both my sisters growing up. So, you know, those beginning years at Opryland, it was not just a paycheck for my young, you know, married life, but it really was a time of healing. And when I firmed my relationship with Christ, when that became a really focus point of my existence, then that bled into how I present myself as a comedian and what material you use.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because you talked about this difficult childhood that you had and how comedy was a real healing point in that. So talk about that a little bit. Where did your faith begin?
Of course, it depends your theology. I got saved 350 times, but I got saved this afternoon. But all that to say, you know, at some point in my life, when I wanted to do what I do for a living to make a difference and not just get a paycheck, there came a real strategic plan in that for me. Right. I saw, especially working at that theme park, I saw what the gift of laughing and how the crowd, you know, releases their tension. You know, I saw the things the great things that comedy can be for a body and for a human being. And then my relationship with Christ began to grow and deepen, that while I had that person's attention, I wanted to leave something pertinent, something more than just the laugh. And that was the formula even early on. First video I ever recorded was having a girls' night out. And it was, of course, focused on women, and as my career really has since I am one. You know, you can't really talk to a room of men about menopause.
Right, but you do get some material from them.
I do.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that later, too.
That's right.
Okay, so your first video.
So my first video, and it did really well, and it resonated with a lot of women, and it became a platinum selling, you know, project. And what that does is tell us that we were onto something. You know, that this formula, funny, 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 and then something tender, 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 that works. And that's how it's been for 25 years. I've never steered from that.
It is so good for our soul to laugh. I mean,
Isn't
God
it good?
created laughter, but He gives each one of us individual gifts.
Yes.
And so you were able to hone in on that gift because you also sing.
Oh.
You wanted to dance, and so that was the whole Opryland thing. You went to Opryland because you wanted to dance, and they said, no, we're going to have you impersonating.
That's exactly right.
But it was perfect. God has a way of just kind of, you know, pointing us down the road where we really probably didn't even think we'd go.
Exactly. I think that is true. I think God does, you know, when people always say, you know, did you ever hear from the Lord to go and be a comedian? And I always go, well, let's don't blame this on the Lord. But what He does do is direct you. He'll shut a door.
Right.
So you kind of have to go this way, and then he'll move the path that way. And if you're just staying attentive to what's working, then you'll see, I think, sometimes the hand of God.
I agree. I think that's so important for our audience to see, because I think many of us, you know, and this is all kind of new to me too. So you know, this whole being on camera and so forth, it is a little, you know, intimidating at first.
Absolutely.
So was it intimidating for you? Were you nervous, or do you ever get nervous today?
You know, I don't get nervous very often, but I should. You know, that kind of makes you pay attention. You know,
it does.
I've been at it for so long that when I'm planning a new show, I think I'm writing out material, when I'm putting it all together, I get excited. I get a truth comes to me that I go, if I believe this, or if I'm struggling in this area in my life, then I'm as average as any girl out there. There's got to be somebody else doing this too. And so I get excited about this new message that I want to bring to a group of women, you know, and see them laugh and goof off. Where I do get nervous is when I know that my emotion is fragile.
Right.
And yet I still make a living as a comic. And so people bought a ticket to hear a laugh.
Right.
And I know that my emotion is fragile. My husband passed away a couple of years ago. I've been married 31 years and to the same man. And I took some time off, of course, but there were some things that you couldn't get out of, as you well know. People, there's too much investment in it, so you got to go do that job.
Right, and people want to hear from you.
Yes, and they want to know that you're okay.
Absolutely.
And so we went ahead and did some of those things. Those nights I was nervous. I was nervous because, you don't want to break down, fall apart in front of a couple of thousand people, know. And you want to be able to be coherent enough and you're focused enough that you can at least get the punchline out.
Right.
And God was faithful, and I was able to do that, and I was able to pull that off. I don't think I want to make a career out of those fragile moments. But that's how when you just keep your life in His hands, it all turns out.
And you persevere.
You do.
You really persevere, and I think it's so important for men and women, teenagers, to hear you say that and to say, I went through one of the most completely life-changing experiences.
Yes.
Devastating.
Yes.
And yet I could still find
something
to laugh about.
Isn't that the truth?
Because it is healing.
I had a movie of the story of my life was on the big screen a couple of months ago called Laughing in the Dark. And I lived my life for 50 years. But it showed my life in 90 minutes. Right.
Which is
and when
very
it
hard
all
to
comes
do.
at you like that, that's frightening. But also, man, I sat back there in awe. I sat in the movie theater and eating my popcorn going, I cannot believe I have survived all of that.
So tell me about this new program that's coming out on the Dove channel.
I'm very excited. It's called Stand Up for Families. It's some original programming, and we have 3 comedy specials, and I'm the hostess with the mostest. It turned out so great. And you can download the Dove channel on any of your devices. You can watch it anywhere you go on your app. I watched the other day a show from the Dove channel on my cell phone, sitting in an airport. I love technology.
I do too.
But I love that the Dove Channel gave us an opportunity to truly stand up for families and have good family entertainment for all age groups. And we had comics who make 5-year-olds crack up laughing, and comics who made your grandpa crack up and laugh. It was such a great variety. And so there's 3 specials coming out. I have a movie. The movie is going to be on DVD, and that comes out. So it's like, all of a sudden, with that and my online dating profile, I'm out there, girl.
You are. You absolutely are. There's no doubt about that. Well, so tell me a little bit more about that, because we talked about Laughing in the Dark. And that's your DVD.
Yes.
It's coming out on DVD, and they can find that at Chonda.org.
They can.
And also they can go to thedovechannel.com and learn about this new program. But tell me just a little bit more, because comedy is your biggest thing that you do. And people love to laugh, and it's such a healing property for them. But tell me about how much you laughed at these other comedians. When y'all get together, I can't imagine what it's like producing.
It is like a Jesus circus. That's what it's like, and I should have had a sign in the green room going, no one is allowed to be funny here.
Right.
Just wait and save it on the stage. But,
that's so true.
In the true supportive manner that we all have been doing this. And, comedy has been perversed so badly by the devil. Yeah. So it was so great to get together and do something, and we're all big fans of one another. Stand-up comedy is about standing up by yourself.
Right.
So you don't get with other artists, you don't travel. I travel on a bus. 51 cities is the tour this year.
Right.
And I'm by myself for the most part. And so to do something where all of us who share the same craft and the same appreciation for this gift that the Lord gave us, that was a blessing. And I think it shows. I think it really shows how much we all cared about one another as you pass each other the microphone, and it turned out really good.
So was there a theme when you say stand up for families?
I think what we meant was that we want families to be able to sit down and watch the same program without comedy being adult or childlike.
Right.
It's the entire family can enjoy watching something. And you know, I will say I've raised my kids. I have adult children now.
Right.
And it's still hard for my son and I to find something sitting in a room that we both like. He wants to watch zombies. I want to watch some, you know, sweetsy, you know, thing. And
Right.
so it's really nice that something can come on television that we can all sit, and he'll have a comic for 15 minutes, he'll be rolling laughing, and then in 10 minutes I'll be rolling laughing about something. And so that it makes it forces you to have a family night, which
Right.
is why we did it.
Well, and some of your material comes from your dating. Your girlfriend signed you up for an online dating source. So you're going to take, you know, women.
That's
Because
exactly
there's a
right.
lot of women out there that are going to be watching these specials on the Dove channel.
Girl,
and they're gonna
don't
say,
do
I
it.
get
Don't do it.
And they're going to say, I get it. I know right where she's at.
That's exactly right.
And they're going to find a lot to laugh
know,
about there.
I
think it's awesome.
Yeah, my entire career has been about just my life, you
Yeah.
know, and telling it all. And I forget that I tell it all, because now I can walk through a grocery store and someone goes, "Oh, honey, that thing you said about menopause," and I'm like, I can't believe
Oh
I
my
said
gosh.
that.
Yeah, but that's good. I think when we get that way with one another, we kind of take our guard down.
We do.
You know,
And I
and we
love that
begin to
about
realize
comedy.
that we're real people.
Yeah.
We're not, you know, because as Christians, we have that tendency so often to walk through the church doors as everything's perfect and everything's comfortable,
Right.
and we have it all together. Well, thank you so much for being here today. Let's say one more time, if you want to go and see this new special that's coming out on the Dove channel, just go to dovechannel.com to find out more information. And then, Chonda, you have videos of previous, you've got
I
tons of
do.
material on your web.
Chonda.org. You
Yes.
get more information than you need.
That's excellent. And you're going to laugh as well, and you're going to have a great time doing it. So thanks for joining us,
Thank
Chonda.
you
Thank
very
you for
much.
joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.